Welcome to the Teaching Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Homberg-Smith. Think of me as that teacher bestie navigating together the magical moments and messiness of teacher life. If you are looking to upgrade your life, whether that's inside or outside of the classroom, then you have come to the right place. It's my intention in this podcast to bring you all the topics, because as we know, teachers are a big mixed bag of interests after that lanyard comes off at the 3 p.m. bell. So please come pull up a chair around my table and let's talk teacher life at Teaching Unfiltered. This podcast is sponsored by Lizard Learning Publishing. Rightio, let's jump right into today's episode. Today's episode, it's going to be extra special as we explore the fascinating journey of teaching while navigating ADHD. It's a journey that I am on now, whether you're an educator, a student, a parent navigating this yourself, or even with your own child or just someone curious about the topic, then stick around because you are in for a treat in this little episode. Because today we're shining a light on the experiences of ADHD teachers. Now, it was when I became a mum that my ADHD symptoms were heightened. When I'm in a hyperfocus and Ava interrupts me, if you don't know what a hyperfocus is, you will find out in a moment. I'll explain all of that. But when she interrupts me, I just want to be left alone to get it done. And I find this part of parenting so frustrating. Now that I am a parent, now that I have less hyper-focused time or longer periods of it, I realized how much hyper-focusing that I did do. I've done 2 university degrees. I was a registered nurse and then I became a teacher. And I've realized now I would just go for 2 and 3 days and get an assignment done. But I could because I wasn't a mum then. Report card writing, I would hyper-focus for 2 weeks or again over a 2 and 3 day period where I would just get all my jobs done and I would then just tell everybody, do not bother me. I'm going into the study and I am getting these report cards done until they are done. I am not good at doing little bits and pieces here and there. However, I have had to learn to being a parent. That has been one really big struggle with being a mum. Now, with ADHD. Now, I want to be left alone in this, my hyper-focused time that I do get, minimal time, to get the task done that I probably have procrastinated on for days and now it's overdue. That's the parts that I struggle with. And I feel overstimulated all the time. To combat this, I try and get as much sleep as I can. Now, I need a day sleep most days. That's obviously unreasonable, but I would love that. I could easily fall asleep for an hour at, 1 to 2 o'clock every day. But it's just to combat that constant chatter in my head, the constant thoughts, constant creation, constant ideas. And then, of course, it's all the negative stuff like the self-doubt and that negative self-talk. That being neurodivergent can hinder us mentally and our mindset daily. It's just a constant work in progress to stay positive for me. Luckily, I have done a heap of inner work, and luckily I've actually found that, I certainly did not have a negative mum or anything like that, but I certainly did not grow up with positivity around me like I do with my own child now. I didn't grow up around success. I didn't grow up around conversations at nighttime about positivity or mindset or anything like that. But, by no means did. My poor mum has passed on now and God love her and she did the best job that she could. However, I certainly wasn't around a very, a world of positive talk and things like that. I've had to find it myself and I've had to do this inner work and the therapy and the counseling and the psychologists just around my ADHD. And this is what really makes me a great coach when it comes to my neurosparkly kids and adults, because I always thought that I was the odd one out. And this is my clients feel the same thing. They're always wondering. And then we get all this self-doubt and it just is stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked on top from years of being told to sit down, to be quiet, don't yell out, why are you like this? And we get to this age. I'm 47 at the time of this recording, and I'm having to undo all of the conversations and, all the negativity around me having ADHD. But it's a superpower that others don't have. That's how I look at it now because of all the work that I've done. Now that I take a different spin on my neurodiversity, life has opened up because it's all positive now in my eyes. I know with my ADHD, it's a gift. Like I said, it's a superpower, and I love sharing this with my clients when they first come to me or when we first chat on Zoom or in person, however it happens to work out, because I've always been told that they're the problem. And all of a sudden I go, hang on a second, no, this is a gift. And we are going to unpack it today. We're not going to talk that it's a struggle. We're not going to talk that you're a hindrance. We're not going to talk that it's a negative thing. Boy, oh boy, we are going to unpack the magic of these gifts that you have, is what I say, and their life, their face just changes. And then that is the doorway for them to open up to completely change the trajectory of their life. If you've been diagnosed with ADHD or you know a child with ADHD and need coaching to unwrap this magical gift that you have, or that someone around you has, email me for one-to-one coaching. It will change your life when you hang around the circles, when people understand you. There will be a link below to reach out to me. Now, ADHD, it's an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder if you don't know anything about it. It's a neurological condition that can impact focus and processing, impulse control, and energy levels, and it's a really real thing. What is it like for a teacher with ADHD? Well, I was recently diagnosed, but honestly, I've known about my ADHD for years. I've read that many psychologist and psych reports as a registered nurse and a school teacher that I identified with each key criteria on those lists and self-diagnosed myself years ago. But in my school days in the 80s and the early 90s, an ADHD diagnosis for a girl, I mean, that was nearly unheard of. As an adult, you know, it's the lost keys, it's the impulsive decisions, it's the hyper-focus on tasks. This can all be within a 60-second time period, to then on the other spectrum being a complete non-finisher. Well, this has just become a roller coaster and what I call my life. I even write down all my notes for these podcasts just to stay on track because, you know, one task at a time, Cindy, right? Let's dive right into why having ADHD as a teacher isn't a hindrance, but it's a massive asset when your mindset is managed properly. The next time you hear a teacher on staff has ADHD, embrace them, listen to them, because they will have a lot to offer a teaching team. They will have ideas that you had never thought of. Now, our first step in understanding why teachers with ADHD are a tremendous asset in the classroom revolves around the concept of hyperfocus. Now, while ADHD, it's often associated with distractibility, but it also brings this ability to intensely focus on tasks. Imagine having a teacher who, when passionate about a topic, can dive deep into it, capturing the attention of the entire class. Now, if you've listened to my other podcasts, I like to do a coaching type podcast. If you don't want to participate, that's totally fine. But if you do want to take action on your life, then the best way to do that is to actively involve yourself in this change. That's why grabbing a pen and paper or even the notes app on your phone. Below, I'm just going to list now just some examples of teachers that teach their subjects and how passionate they can get in their hyperfocus about these topics. Now, I'd like you to write down what you identify with when I go through these examples. And you might see a resemblance to the topics that you love to teach. And it might be just the topics that your kids love learning from you. My daughter absolutely loved a year 3 teacher, and he was so knowledgeable. You know, those teachers that have general knowledge about everything. And this teacher, I think this teacher was actually really ASD, to be honest, but he would just light up these kids' lives with just all the things that he could talk about. If this is you, you might have a topic that you just absolutely love. Double down on this, because as long as you're finding joy, the kids are finding joy, and that's what the whole idea about teaching is. Time for a quick break, but I will be right back with today's episode. We are so proud to say that the Teaching Unfiltered podcast is sponsored by the 10 Quick Questions a Day program and the Teacher Mastermind Members Hub, run by my company, Blizzard Learning. the only daily and consistent whole school-based teaching program to revise, consolidate and reinforce the fundamental basics in literacy and numeracy. It only takes 20 minutes to cover over 10 curriculum areas, giving you the peace of mind that you will see gaps in learning instantly. There will be no more sitting around in your room at the 3 p.m. bell. You know with confidence that you have covered all the fundamentals in 2 very important learning areas every day for 40 weeks when you implement the 10 Quick Questions a Day program into your classroom. The program is based on the science of learning, so each page is designed for explicit and guided instruction for the continual practice and revision daily our kids need to truly understand and succeed in their learning. Dramatically increase your students' confidence and results without you having to plan and write and create or take even more time away from the things that you love. Saving your sanity in this done-for-you must-have teaching resource. The questions are actually fun. So if you're educating a child today, you have got to check out lizardlearning.com. This will bring that joy into your life that we speak about often here at Teaching Unfiltered. And at this podcast, it's all about teachers finding their joy again in a world that can be very quite chaotic in teaching. Let's jump into some examples. So you might be a history teacher with ADHD whose enthusiasm for a specific historical event becomes contagious. Your hyperfocus might allow you to provide an in-depth exploration on that historical moment in history, making the subject come alive for your students. My hyperfocus for many years were the daily reviews, and the daily review movement that I have created. Go and check out our website. I wrote 2 entire programs, over 300,000 words, to create over 16,000 questions for literacy and numeracy reviews. Teachers and homeschoolers didn't have to. It was a hyperfocus for years to provide teachers and homeschoolers with this no planning approach to literacy and numeracy. It's there, it's done for you. That teaching content where there is no having to create it themselves, all with answers to, ready to implement. I was nuts over this for years and years and years. If you want to check that out, it is at the link below. You can go to lizardlearning.com and there are 3. There's a membership, which is the U-Butte one where you access to me each month. And there are 2 other very more cleaner subscriptions where you just get the programs if that's what you want. We've sort of catered to sort of the needs of everyone. If you want more coaching, if you want more community and collaboration, then the first one, it's the Teacher Mastermind Members Hub that you will join up to, or then the other 2 for if you just want your daily reviews. Now, when I was a full-time teacher, I could not go into my week without the daily reviews done for the 5 days ahead. That's why I am so passionate about reteaching, reviewing and revision with your kids, because the results are incredible when you do it consistently, that kind of teaching. Now, with ADHD, when we become obsessed about something, it will be impossible to get us to budge. Now, another example, think of an English teacher with ADHD who turns a poetry lesson into a dynamic, interactive experience. Now, I haven't seen it. It's just a movie that quickly popped to me. It's that actor, Robin Williams. He might have done this in Dead Poets Society. Tell me if I'm wrong over on Instagram. Their approach, that creative approach, not only engages students, but it also encourages them to express themselves in unconventional ways. I didn't realize that most people can't create 100 ideas at a time on the spot for any area. In my case, if I needed an entire 10-week reading group program organized, and I was interested in doing it because that's a big thing as well, I'll get that done in my hyper-focused creativity time. If a schedule or a bigger picture project is required, call on me. I'll be your woman to get that done. Now, take this podcast, for example. I can write notes for 10 episodes in a hyper-focused period, no problems. Answer customer emails at the same time, prepare lunch for Ava, let the dog outside, go to the door and pick up a parcel that's arrived, all while writing podcast episodes. I am an ideas generator, and I didn't realize a lot of people aren't until I actually went into business and people have to slow me down. My team have to tell me to stop. I've got actually in Trello a Cindy's brain dump folder because I come up with so many ideas. But luckily for now, I know I have ADHD and I know I can go get on a train of thought and go wild with it. Now I do stop myself, and my team know that I'll say, hey, I've just got to write this down because I'm going to forget. But It's just a thought that I want to explore later on. Whereas before I wouldn't have. I would have said, right, this is what we need to do. And that would just really stress the heck out of everybody around me. You might be like me where the constant ideas just flow, and I applaud you. I think this is fantastic. You know, what an asset to have on a teaching team. You will need to find, though, a creative outlet for this to let all these ideas out. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. You're going to end up very frustrated, unheard, not seen. You're going to have issues of worthiness. All this stuff will start to arise if you can't get these ideas out and if you can't actually start implementing on them. Just let them flow. You might just want to start writing them all down, write them all down. Then you might pick a few that you want to actually try. No one needs to know about them. But you can tinker away on your ideas in the background until then maybe one or two of them that you really love and that you want to take that to the next level. That's totally fine. Now, I want to say a disclaimer before I go any further in this podcast. Back to being that ideas generator. This might be why, if you have ADHD, you might struggle inside a very toxic, rigid, set in their ways school environment. I know I do, and I also know I do a relief day just every now and then, and I love the relief days. It really fills my bucket. I really could do 5 days of them if I wasn't so busy with everything else, because those kids, it's the kids that fill my bucket, and that's why teachers don't want to leave this profession. You know, we can struggle all the time. We can whinge about our this profession, but it's the kids that always bring us back. That's the joy that we have. But I even find on a relief teacher day, like that is 5 hours I'm stepping into this school, and I struggle with how people talk to you. I struggle with just the vibe of the school and how you're treated as a relief teacher. That's what gets me. But you're really going to struggle. I just want to bring awareness to this because I don't want you thinking that you're the problem with why do you think everyone is so like toxic and rigid around here. It's because you're an ideas generator. You can see that you can implement new strategies that are actually going to work. You know, you will struggle though, because you're an ideas generator. You want to implement these things. However, in a school environment, there are so many overthinkers, the procrastinators, the staff who can't accept change, and the perfectionists who will want to boycott these ideas and think them through until the idea just fizzles out and dies without it being actioned. I hope that has resonated with a few of you out there and that you can now release some of those feelings of, you know, why do you feel so trapped in a school environment? It's just because you've got so many ideas you want to implement and you're not allowed to implement them. This is why many people with ADHD, they're entrepreneurs and own their own businesses because they can just get on with it without everyone telling them that they shouldn't. This is why I love being in business because I can act on every single idea that I want to action. Now let's highlight the invaluable skill of adaptability from a neurosparkler. Now ADHD, it teaches individuals to navigate a world that might not always conform to rigid structures. In the classroom, this translates into a teacher who can adjust seamlessly to unexpected changes. If you're a teacher, you know how fast a day can shift from organized to absolutely chaotic. It's exactly, I've seemed to have chosen 2 careers. My first one was a registered nurse. That is exactly the same. Lovely, everything can be beautiful, and then everything hits the fan. So it shifts on a dime. And if you are thinking about a career change or a school leaver and you want to get your teaching degree, if you aren't adaptable and if you can't move with change quickly, then save the 40, 50, 60 grand, however much it is to get a degree, a teaching degree these days, save that money. Because the teachers that I have taught with over the years that were the most difficult to teach with, that caused the most grief, were the teachers who couldn't adapt or change. If that's your personality, then it's a really big consideration to think about another career that is less chaotic. When the playground duty roster changes, a kid vomits in the middle of the classroom where every desk is located around it, and that vomit has gone everywhere. When the RI teacher doesn't make it to class and then there's a whole 30 minutes to fill. When the music teacher is sick and there is no non-contact. When a glow stick bracelet breaks in a kid's eye at a school disco. Find the neurodivergent teacher and they'll have the problem solved within minutes. I mean, these are the daily chaotic changes that occur on any given day in teaching. Now, after diving into hours of research on ADHD and in particular the female brain, And this is why I coach on these things, because I know what it's like to be a teacher and a female teacher and have ADHD. And unless we are making these topics normalized, female teachers especially are going to always feel like a square peg in a round hole, like I did. If you feel that you need that support with your ADHD, or you think you have it and haven't been diagnosed and you need help with it, reach out to me for a chat. Like I mentioned, the link is below. The sooner you do it, the better your entire life will be, because you will have the strategies on board to help in those impulsive moments, in those moments that you don't think you're enough. I don't think I'm enough. That's the biggest thing that I struggle with, that I have to overcome every single moment of every single day. It might be in those moments where you compare yourself to others. Comparisonitis is what I call it, and where everyone else is seeming to do the right thing all the time. And it's all about the knowledge and relearning and rewiring old thoughts to new ones. And that's what coaching can bring you, surrounding yourself around people that understand. I've connected a lot of dots with how much my ADHD has affected 47 years of my life, walking away from overwhelming situations, not realizing, just overloaded, or it's my overstimulated brain, that this has been a real journey. When we're later diagnosed with ADHD, we can suffer with remorse and regret with the decisions that we might have made because we wanted to make those decisions, but because our brains were overloaded and flight was the only option in these situations for most of us. To be perfectly unfiltered, as I want to be as raw and as possible with this community, if I had the correct diagnosis, if I had a diagnosis and some support, had people around me that were educated on ADHD and could see that within me, I may not have walked away from a marriage in my 20s. Mark is still my best friend. You know, we don't contact each other all the time. However, I just know that I pick up that phone, or he picks up the phone. He will be that one person, and I will be for him. That will be there in an instant. You know, who knows? But I know with the information that I have access to now, and I know that I have the strategies to know what to do in a stressful situation after years of learning about ADHD myself, and I didn't have this years ago. My ADHD is dual, like lucky me. It's both verbal and motor. It took me a while to realize that my constant mental chatter wasn't the normal. And if you have a huge task coming up, let's say report cards, I'm going to provide some ideas to help you get through this period, chilled, not stressed, like all the other times before. Now, I want to create change for teachers in whatever way you, as a teacher, needs to make these changes to thrive in your life, bring back that joy to teaching, or to continue to fall more in love with this profession. But getting out that piece of paper and pen, like I mentioned before, and facing the tough questions is what we need to do. There are some tips and teachings I'd like to share on how to reduce the effects of ADHD when it comes to getting tasks done, facing conflict, or big decisions. So we're using the example now. I'm going to go into using the example of, let's say, report card writing time, because I know every teacher, whether they are neurotypical or neurodivergent, doesn't matter. They all really struggle with this time. These tips will really be helpful for anyone listening to this podcast, because this time is very difficult for those with ADHD. It's also very timely because where we are in Australia in our school year is a report card semester, which is semester 2 and semester 4, or term 2, term 4. Now, my first suggestion, if you've got your pen and paper, is to seek support and to know that you are worth it, you are enough, and you are deserving. Everywhere, no matter where you start in your life, we need to start with our mindset. Let's start here. Remember, ADHD, it's a superpower. It is not a downfall. I hear so often, oh, do you suffer with ADHD? And, oh, those ADHD sufferers. I don't suffer. I thrive with this neurodiversity. I thank the universe every day that I have it. What a boring life to not have this superpower. I get so much done in a day because I have ADHD, because I am powered up on life that I can get through so many things. And I think the biggest comment that I get from people is, how do you do it all? And I just say, well, it's my ADHD. That's it. When I reached out to other women with ADHD, I finally felt normal. And this night might not be society's normal, but it's my normal, and I'm really happy with that. It was Mel Robbins. She was the first public woman I followed who was openly diagnosed as ADHD. And I learned so much from her. If you hit the ADHD Instagram accounts on a search, you will definitely find people to follow who you resonate with that you can learn from. Mindset. It is the first step in anything. If it's a business that you wish to start with powering up your mindset first, because a negative one with limiting beliefs and worthiness issues will have you undone before you even begin. Same goes for running a marathon or playing a grand final match. And yes, you can even start with these simple school tasks that might be simple for some, but not for us. Powering up your mindset, turning to positive mindsets, podcasts, and turning to Instagram accounts where they're talking about positivity and changing that mindset, and self-development books and self-help books and self-education. These are all the things that you need to start with to get out of that mindset that there is something wrong with you. So that's the first place to start. Now, number 2 is reflect and plan. Okay. So you are going to either hyper-focus on those reports, you are going to take 2 weeks to do them, or you're going to procrastinate altogether. Plan for knowing what it is that you are likely to do. In my experience, from everyone that I know, there are 3 kinds of ADHD actions when a task is required to be completed. And that is a hyperfocuser, you're a distractor, or you're a procrastinator. It's just those 3. Now, if you're a hyperfocuser, here are some tips. And here are some tips to use that hyperfocus at report card writing time or any task that's required of you inside or outside of the classroom. First, prepare everyone around you. Communicate what you need to start and finish, and explain what you need from them and a time frame in which you think it's going to be finished. Tell your family, hey, look, report cards are here and I need to bunker down and I need to get them done for only a short period. When the holidays do hit, I can spend more time with you, or I can spend the entire time with you. Now, when I was a full-time teacher and reports were due, I would cook all the meals, I would freeze them, I would have them for days because I didn't know when I would come out of my little hibernation. I would clean the house, I would iron all the clothes, I would have everything done so I could enter that study and know that my wifely duties were done. This is when I was married to Mark, like I mentioned earlier. Now, of course, I was super young and thought that this was what I was meant to do with all of those wifely duties. Don't shoot me. He'd be cooking his own meals now and mine if we were together now. But I've got age on my side, wisdom and experience to know that a marriage is 50-50. Communication, it is going to be key if you are a hyper-focuser and you have people around you who will be requiring things of you. Can someone else take the kids to sports practice for 2 nights during this week so you can get your hyper-focus in from 4 to 10? Can others be given the weekend task just for 1 weekend so you can focus 48 hours to get these report cards done? Now, of course, I can't provide every scenario for everyone's life or what personally works for you. I do private coaching. If you need that one-to-one support, then email me below, and then you will always be on task. You will never be behind, and you will feel in control every day. Communicate what you need from others, and then get in and do what you need to do in that time. Don't take your phone in and then get on the hyper-focused scroll of social media, and that you will be happy knowing that once it's done and you will have all that family, friends, or fur kid time or Netflix remote control time, that you can get back to those things faster. Once you've just put your hyper-focused time in, you will be finished. And this is working within your strengths of having ADHD. Now, you might be what did I call it before? You might be a distractor. If you start but stop 100 times in a session, these tips are for you. How can you minimize doing that? Write down, if this is you, I just want you to write down what you personally feel is achievable for you if you know that you are distracted by 100 different shiny objects other than the task of getting those bloody reports done. I'm going to stress, no matter which 3 you are, all is okay. You are still loved, you are still whole, and you are still worthy. These behaviors are normal for you. They are normal for us. But if you aren't getting tasks done, and these are affecting your mental health, your work commitments, or affecting others around you because you are stressed, then things seriously need to change. Here's how to work with your limited attention span on tasks. I use these strategies all the time. If you are this kind of person where you sit down and then you need to get up from the computer and then go and do the dishes and then do the laundry and then go and get the drill out to fix up the painting on the wall that's crooked, then these tips are for you. Now, I use these tips when I'm creating these podcasts. I basically write the guts of the topic and I come up with a title. That's just in one session. I then come back to editing the podcast and I fine-tune the full podcast. Now, if I had to do this in one entire podcast or one entire session from start to finish and have a podcast ready, this podcast would never get done. I'm going to give this idea back to report card writing ideas and examples to empower your ADHD, but work with it in flow instead of against the tide. We're going to do lots of little tasks regularly. We're going to break them down now. We're going to start small. It could be you open up your Word doc on your computer and today you're going to enter the maths grades just in one 30-minute or 1 hour session, whatever works for you. You're going to shut the computer up. You're going to go and do something else. You're going to pick up the computer again. And in another session, you might enter, let's say, the behavior results. In another session on a completely different day, or it might be in the morning and then you pick it up again at night time, you're going to write in the English marks. You are going to, this is perfect science of learning strategies here anyway, and it's spaced over time. If you know that you're that type of person, no longer you're going to have negative chatter that you're useless, that you can't sit down for one whole session and get things done. No. You are perfectly normal as you are. You just need to do this to work in flow with your ADHD. This way, you remain positive. You are doing lots of little tasks in smaller chunks and in tiny sessions. This way you feel successful and proud of yourself. You aren't thinking you aren't good enough to be a teacher and all the crazy thoughts that creep in when we think we can't do things like everyone else and sit down in one session and have all these reports finished. It's not going to happen. Doing things as perceived normal people or people who are neurotypical, it's never going to happen for us. And we don't want it to because we aren't living authentically or true to ourselves anyway. And who wants to live like that? Work with your ADHD and then you start to feel in control and empowered in yourself and in your teaching. And this might reduce an epic meltdown, a flight response, and throwing your resignation in on the principal's table. And you might just realize, hey, you do love this profession after all. You have just been battling up a stream for so long instead of working with the flow and in your true soul's purpose. With these strategies and the ones that you will now create for yourself, feel free to go and create other ones now because you know what you do. You are going to do your tasks in line with your human design or in your human makeup. We don't need to fight who we are anymore. We can be completely and unapologetically us all the time. We need to make adjustments for all the cogs to work at once, and that is okay. My last one, this little tip is going to be for my little procrastinators. I would plan like I've described above if I was a procrastinator, because you can't get motivation. Motivation just doesn't arrive. Motivation, though, comes from starting. Start one small task, which might be like the same as above, that you open the computer, you open your Word doc on One School. That's our system in Australia for this kind of data collection. Well, in 2024, unless that changes in years to come. This might be all you need to get started, but watch what happens to your mindset. You know you have to get these report cards done. Something kicks in that will give you the oomph to maybe enter some science marks or the general behavior comment. When you get started, then you get the motivation to keep going and before you know it, most of your report cards will be done. Whatever strategy you lean on when you are under the pump to complete schoolwork, whether that's reports, planning, parent interviews, or the 100 different tasks we can leave on that to-do list. It's whatever strategy will work for you. I want you to tell me in the DMs at Lizard_learning what your strategies are. I'd love to know about them. If you are in the membership, which is the Teacher Mastermind Member Hub, drop it in our private Facebook connection group. If you want to learn more about how you can access 5 literacy and 5 numeracy questions every day, it's the latest research that daily reviews are how children move working memory into long-term knowledge. And if you aren't using the 10 Quick Questions a Day program already, and you want community around you, then please go over to the website lizardlearning.com and find out. And if you aren't, that's totally okay. Go and DM me. I love hearing from you, no matter where you're coming from. Now, teaching with ADHD, it has its challenges, but it's also filled with unique strengths. And just recognizing the signs, understanding yourself, and having a support system can make a huge difference. As a little reminder of those navigating ADHD or navigating life with ADHD, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Let's talk about the superpowers that come with ADHD. There is boundless energy can be a superpower, handling multiple tasks simultaneously. How often are we juggling 10 different tasks at once? Easy for us with ADHD. With our ADHD, we bring infectious enthusiasm to teams, our teacher besties, our students, our friends, and our families. We're probably the ones doing the stupid thing at a party or a staff meeting. ADHD, teachers, we bring resilience to a team, and we translate that into adaptability, which is a crucial skill in navigating teaching. Playground duty is changed in a heartbeat. Specialist lessons are scrapped because no relief teacher. RI teachers are sick and there's half an hour to fill. These are situations that are no worries to a person with ADHD. I mean, we say bring them on. Quick thinking and adaptability, they result in lightning fast problem solving, a game changer, especially in the fast-paced classroom world. By the time another teacher has seen the problem, overthought every OH&S issue that can arise, or a parent complaint or upset colleague and the next steps, I've sorted the problem and moved on to the next one. I'm a born problem solver. You might be the same, or you might know somebody now in your teaching team that has exactly these same traits. The exuberance and passion individuals with ADHD display can be contagious. It's enhancing these relationships and fostering these dynamic interactions is what you need to do if you have ADHD and working with it. Now, my final words. In a world that values conformity, embrace the uniqueness within you. Teachers with ADHD, they remind us that the beauty of education lies in the diversity of minds and all these different perspectives. This isn't just for the students anymore, it's for all of us collectively in a school community. I want to say thank you for joining Teaching Unfiltered. I hope this episode inspires a revelation of how we perceive and appreciate the incredible contribution of teachers with ADHD. If you have ADHD and you feel out of alignment with life, your life's purpose, you want clarity, know that you're headed in the right direction in life. You need some support with someone who understands what you are going through, yet can empower you to be the person you know is inside that you are meant to be, then please email me and let's start the chat about changing that for you. Until next episode, live with intention, teach with passion, inspire with purpose, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening today. I take your time very seriously and appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me. Now, before you go, please take a quick minute to rate and give a 5-star review. Our little podcast community that you and I are building together. Your review will help me so much to reach more teachers to help and support. Now, until next episode, you can head to the website, Lizard Learning, for all the resources to empower your teacher life. And I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, if you have enjoyed my podcast so far, I please ask you to subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen. This helps us reach more listeners to inspire, motivate and empower. I encourage you to tag your friends and give the podcast a 5-star review, as this will really help this little podcast grow. If you find any value today, please take a screenshot of the episode with the comment that resonated and share on Instagram at lizard_learning. My love language are words of affirmation, so I love receiving your messages, your kind words, and to know that I'm bringing you content that will move the needle from where you are to where you wish to be in teacher life. Thank you so very much for listening.